there, folks, and welcome out to the Single Player Podcast. I'm your one and only host, I'm 16-bit, and I got a good show for this week because we're going to be talking about the Cooking Mama lawsuit comes to a close, Microsoft might get sued by the FTC, Frontiers is the future of Sonic, and more. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and I'll be with you in a bit. Alright folks, we're back, and now it's time to start the show with my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everyone in the world's favorite segment. It's time for the gaming forecast. So let's see what's coming out between the week of December 4th to the 10th. Alright, on the 6th, you have just one game coming out, Hello Neighbor 2 for Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Then on the 8th, you have 6 games coming out, Chained Echoes for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Idol Janshi Suiche Pai Saturn Tribute, releasing exclusively in Japan for Nintendo Switch. The Rumblefish 2 for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Samurai Maiden making its Western debut on Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. Soakai Tenki, releasing exclusively in Japan on Nintendo Switch. And Witch on the Holy Night for Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4. Then on the 9th, you have just 3 games coming out. Adventure Academia, The Fractured Continent, making its Western debut on Windows, Nintendo Switch, and PlayStation 4. Choo Choo Charles for Windows, and Dragon Quest Treasures for Nintendo Switch. And that was your gaming forecast. Some interesting stuff there. The two that really got my attention is Choo Choo Charles and Dragon Quest Treasures. So if there's anything there, please let me know down below. And remember that all music in this week's episode are linked in the description, so check those out. And with that being said, let's move on to our first story. Okay, and so for our first story, we got to talk about Cooking Mama. Yep, that's right. There's an IP I'm sure many of you haven't heard from in a long time. It was really big on the Wii and DS, but after that, it kind of like died off in popularity. I remember they tried keeping it up during the 3DS era, but it just never really caught on. Well, a couple of years ago, a new game came out called Cooking Mama Cookstar, and only a few hours after it came out, it was pulled from all online stores, and people wondered what the hell was going on. Well, it appears that that Office Create, the owners of the IP, had filed lawsuits against the publisher, Planet Entertainment, for releasing it and claiming that it violated their intellectual property. Well, after 2 years of legal issues, the International Chamber of Commerce International Court of Arbitration has found Planet Entertainment and its CEO, Steve Grossman, in violation of Office Create's intellectual property rights. That's right. In a press statement released by Office Create, they said, and I quote, "In August 2018, Office Create licensed Planet Entertainment LLC to develop the Cooking Mama Cookstar game for Nintendo Switch. Unfortunately, the quality of the game builds failed to meet Office Create's standards that our customers expect and deserve. Planet was contractually obligated to correctly identify deficiencies and resubmit the correct builds for Office Create's approval. In March 2020, Planet released Cooking Mama Cookstar for Nintendo Switch for sale in North America, Europe, and Australia without Office Create's approval. In response to the unauthorized Switch release, Office Create notified Planet of the immediate termination of Planet's license to, among other things, use Office Create's intellectual property pertaining to Cooking Mama. Despite the termination, Planet continued to sell the unauthorized and unlicensed Switch game. In April 2021, Planet released Cookie Mama Cookstar for PlayStation 4 for worldwide sale except Asia. Office Create had not licensed any entity, including Planet, to develop a PS4 Cooking Mama game. The Arbitral Tribunal has enjoined Planet and Mr. Grossman from selling, passing off, inducing, or enabling others to sell or pass off any product that's a Cooking Mama product, and or otherwise suggesting any association/connection with Office Create or the Cooking Mama franchise. Office Create is undertaking all necessary steps to ensure the infringing Cooking Mama Cookstar video games, digital and physical copies, are removed from the market. We thank our customers and loyal Cooking Mama fans for their continued support and sincerely regret any confusion and disappointment that has been caused by Planet's and Mr. Grossman's conduct. So congratulations to Office Create on defending their IP rights. I do remember this entire thing happening. I remember hearing about how the game had come out and then only a few hours was pulled from the Switch's eShop. And there was a lot of speculation at the time as to why. But one of the ones I heard a lot was that basically the game, for some reason, it required a constant internet connection. And it was causing a lot of Switches to overheat. In a lot of cases, it was bricking them. And so the speculation going around was that essentially the developer was using it to mine crypto off of everyone's Nintendo Switches. Like, basically the game itself was a backdoor that allowed the developers to use everyone's Switches to mine crypto. Now, I'm not sure if that's even true or not. It sounds completely ridiculous and far-fetched. But considering that Office Create said it did not meet their level of quality, I kind of have to wonder if that actually is true or not. But we'll probably never know. Either way, though, once again, I would like to congratulate Office Create on winning their lawsuit. So anyway, let's move on to our next story. Okay, and for our next story, we got to talk about Blue Archive, which is a mobile gacha game. Now, I'm going to be quite frank, I don't know anything about this. In fact, I don't play gacha games. It's not really my thing. But I thought this was an interesting story. So last year, there was a bit of a controversy around the game because apparently one of the CGs in the game was completely censored. And people weren't exactly happy about it. In fact, the producer, Kim Young-ha, actually released a statement basically saying that the change was due to external requests, but didn't go into much detail. Well, because of this, they've decided to, instead of completely continue censoring the game, they've decided to actually split the app into two completely different apps. One, of course, will be the main adult version, and then there's going to be a censored teen version. According to Nexon, the adult version of the app is just going to remain Blue Archive. And in fact, the current version will in fact just be the adult version. Now, there will be an age gate when the update first rolls out, so you'll have to authenticate whether or not you're an adult. And the content will remain the same regardless of the difference of in-app names with different age ratings. Now, as for the teen version, it says here the Izumi swimsuit recollection lobby image will be partially modified. The Akko recollection lobby image will be partially modified. And portions of the Karen relationship story dialogue will be revised. Apart from the above, there will be no further changes or differences between the current Blue Archive and the teen version. So, I actually kind of like this idea because the problem is that you have a lot of these games that, let's be honest here, they're not for kids, okay? They're free to play and with the intent that they're for adults. But unfortunately, you get a lot of kids that download this stuff because parents don't actually pay attention to what their kids are playing. And what you end up getting is a lot of parents complaining about their kids playing this shit even though it's not for them. And what usually happens is these games get censored and the adults that have been playing it kind of just get punished for it, even though they didn't do anything wrong. So I think that this is a great idea, and I do think that this is something a lot more studios that do these type of games should consider in the future, is having two completely separate versions, one for teens and one for adults. There you go. You don't have to deal with any of the extra censorship bullshit. The sad thing is the fact that this has to be done in the first place. Because again, like I said, parents don't pay attention to what their kids are actually playing these days. In fact, it's always been an issue. I remember even like 15, 20 years ago, you still had problems with parents not really paying attention to the content in these games and just simply buying rated M games for their kids and then complaining that the games are full of adult content when they're rated M for mature. It was totally stupid back then, and it's still stupid now. In fact, it's kind of funny because my parents were the opposite, okay? I could not get away with buying anything like Grand Theft Auto or Manhunt, okay? My parents knew the ratings. They were incredibly anal retentive about them, and they wouldn't let me get anything that was rated teen or M until I was, like, close enough. Because I think I didn't get my first rated teen game until I was, like, maybe 12. And it was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which, for a teen game, it doesn't really have much. It kind of barely squeaks by with a teen rating. And then I didn't get my first rated M game until I was 16. It was the original Metal Gear Solid. Got it for my birthday in 2005. In fact, it's kind of funny that they got it for me at that time because that's literally around the same time that the game actually takes place. Spring of 2005. So the timing was absolutely perfect. But yeah, I didn't get my first rated M game until I was 16 years old. And I tried. Okay? I literally brought up, I think it was Grand Theft Auto 2 to my parents, and they were like, no. They were like, no, you're not getting that. We're not getting that. And I'm just like, okay. In fact, I think I was able to convince them to get me the first Rainbow Six because it was rated teen, and it was after 9/11. It was like 2002, and I was like, oh, but you get to kill terrorists, and I'm like, oh, okay. They let me get away with that, but they would not let me get away with something like Grand Theft Auto. All right, not until I was 16 years old and I already had a PlayStation 2. My first GTA game was GTA 3. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Nintendo DS でお料理教室。今日のメニューはハンバーグ。みじん切り、炒めて混ぜてこねこねこね。こんがり焼いて出来上がり。クッキングママ発売中。どうぞ。
All right, folks, and we're back. And first up in our next round of stories, we got to talk about the Microsoft Activision acquisition, because it appears that there might be another roadblock in Microsoft's buyout. And that roadblock is the FTC. Recently, Politico posted an article where several people from within the FTC are claiming that the commission is very skeptical about Microsoft's arguments and that they might actually file an antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft to block the deal. Now, of course, none of this is actually guaranteed. In fact, the FTC's 4 commissioners have not actually voted out a complaint or met with the lawyers for Microsoft or Activision Blizzard. So a lot has remained to be seen. But if this is true, if this is to be believed, we might actually see not just Europe, but also the US blocking the entire deal. And in my opinion, I'm kind of hoping that they actually do. Because, like I said, look, I got nothing wrong with Microsoft. I think they're all right. But at the same time, I don't like them buying out Activision Blizzard. I don't like the idea of any company as big as Microsoft just spending billions of dollars to buy out a major third-party publisher like Activision Blizzard. Now, if the FTC did in fact file an antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft, then that would basically put more pressure on them to back out of the deal, because right now they have Europe on their ass about it. They also have Brazil on their ass. So they've got a lot of countries basically eyeing the entire deal, and it might actually, if that is the case, if they put enough pressure on them, then they might have to back out of the entire deal. And that to me is like the best case scenario. Essentially, they realize it's too much of a risk. It's going to cost them a lot of money going through all the legal issues. And eventually they just back out and realize, yeah, it's not worth it. And let's pray to God that that's the case. So anyway, with that being said, let's move on to our next story. Okay, so recently, Kind of Funny Games had their latest episode of P.S. I Love You. And they had on the director of God of War Ragnarok, Eric Williams, and so to discuss the latest game. And during the discussion, he mentioned that one of his favorite games is Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and it's something that he kind of plays to get his mind off of things. He said, and I quote, "So funny story, every time I finish a game, I play Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the greatest game ever made. I was playing it in the morning the reviews came out because I didn't want to know and I didn't want to go talk to the team." The idea of Castlevania came up again, and he told them, and I quote, "Hey, you guys can make it happen. You have the audience out here, the world, you know. I don't know what I'm doing next, but if somebody gets me that Castlevania license, we would love to make that." Folks, I have just one answer for Mr. Williams here, and that's no. Just no. Dear God, for the love of God and all that is right with humanity, no. Okay, look. All right. The newer God of War games are absolute dog shit. Okay? God of War 2018. Look, I love the series. The first 6 games, fantastic. Beautiful. Excellently well done. God of War 2018 was an outright abomination. It was horrible. Okay? It was more like the God of Us, or the God of Uncharted, if you will. Basically, it was the same old shit that Sony has been outputting for like the last 15 years. Okay? Everything wrong with Naughty Dog is what God of War 2018 was. And God of War Ragnarok is even worse from what I've seen. I haven't even played the game. In fact, after God of War 2018, I basically swore off all first-party Sony games. Like, after that, I'm done. Just done. So, God of War Ragnarok is even worse. All right? It's from what I've seen, it's even worse than the first game. So, the idea of these guys making a new Castlevania, no, just no. No, dear God, no. You know what? At this point, I would rather Mercury Steam make another Lords of Shadow game. Yeah, you know what? Because even though those weren't as good as the older Castlevania games, they were still better than anything Santa Monica Studio has put out since 2018. All right? No, just no. Dear God, no. And I'm sure many of you would agree with me on that. Just that was the thing. The reaction on Twitter was pretty much exactly that. No, we don't want those people making a new Castlevania. For the love of God, No. So, yeah, sorry, Mr. Williams, but I respectfully decline your offer for a new Castlevania. And if you do actually make a new Castlevania, I ain't buying it. And I'm pretty sure a whole bunch of people will not actually buy it. So, anyway, let's move on to our next story. All right, and next up, we got to talk about Suda51. So recently on Twitter, there's an account called 80 Level. I've honestly have never heard of them, but apparently they do a lot of gaming, CGI stuff, you know, that sort of thing. And recently they put out a tweet that says, and I quote, "No more Heroes and Killer is Dead developer Grasshopper Manufacturer is reportedly in charge of a new AAA Alien game." Now, of course, with all rumors, you got to take them with a grain of salt. But the funniest thing about this was we got immediately, as soon as this tweet came out, we got immediate reaction from Suda51 himself. He tweeted out, he quote retweeted it with just like 5 question marks. Basically saying, what the fuck are you talking about? God, I love it. Basically quashing it in the at the same time. And of course, the funniest thing about this is that the original tweet has been deleted. It's gone. Obviously, they're gonna do that because, well, let's be honest here. Once the guy you're rumoring about, I don't know. I'm not even sure if that's a word. Okay, when he basically just comes right out and quashes your rumor within minutes, yeah, there's no reason for you to keep that tweet up. But, you know, this is why I love Suda51, because he's kind of like the anti Hideki Kamiya, where Kamiya would just outright block them. He just quote retweets them and basically says, what the fuck are you talking about? Ah, God, I love it. This is why I love Suda51. Dude is absolutely awesome. And folks, there's a reason why whenever I cover rumors, I always tell you to take it with a grain of salt, because the problem with rumors is that there's a 50-50 chance it could be true and it could be complete bullshit. You never know when it comes to this stuff. So, and I get like the I get the temptation to want to talk about this sort of stuff or want to present it as true because you think, oh wow, lots of people will be able to pay attention to me and I'll get lots of clicks and views by looking at it. I get that temptation. I get it tempted all the time. But at the same time, you have to kind of like stand back and be like, okay, I don't want to come off like a complete asshole and make people, you know, get people's hopes up that this rumor is going to be true. So I get the temptation to want to talk about it and want to present it as true. But at the same time, you have to constantly remind yourself that there is a 50% chance that it's complete and utter bullshit. And if you do present it as truth, you're going to look like a complete asshole. Which is also why, if it turns out it's not true, it's better to just, you know, pick your balls up and just admit, okay, I fucked up. All right? Always do that. But anyway, guys, I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
イカれた殺し屋、謎の美女、そして危険な殺し屋たち。ビームカタナでめった切り
How they all die. No more heroes.
もうええ。
All right, folks, and we're back in. First up in our last round of stories, we got to talk about Sonic Frontiers. Because recently, Sector.sk did an interview with Takahashi Iizuka. And if you don't know who he is, he has a long history with the Sonic series. Going as far back as Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where he was the game designer. He then moved on to games like Nights in the Dreams, Sonic Jam, and of course, he was the director of Sonic Adventure, Adventure 2, Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog. He produced Generations, Colors, all that good stuff. So, yeah, dude has a long history with the franchise. And, of course, he was the producer of Sonic Frontiers. And recently, he was in this interview, they asked him about the template for Sonic Frontiers. They said, and I quote, Sonic Frontiers is set to set a new template, just like Sonic Adventure did in 1998. What does this mean for the game and players? And he said, and I quote, yes, you are right. Just like Sonic Adventure, our goal for Sonic Frontiers was to create a game that would be the cornerstone of future Sonic games. It is a brand new approach for the franchise, but we have been conscious to honor Sonic's roots as well. The game still needs to feel like a Sonic game. And you know what? I've got no problem with that. As you guys are watching, I have been playing Sonic Frontiers on the Xbox Series X, and let me tell you, I am enjoying this game. Like, it's probably the first time since Sonic Generations I've really enjoyed a Sonic game. Really got into it. I am loving everything I am seeing in this game. I love that it does pay homage to the older Sonic games, while at the same time taking it in a completely brand new direction. And, you know, I gotta applaud them for at least trying something new, but being careful with it. Not, because, like, here's the thing. Whenever you try something new, it can backfire on you horribly. And so, I like that they did take their time and they were very patient with it. And overall, they churned out what, in my opinion, is one of the best Sonic games that Sega has put out in a while, since Generations. So, and you know what? If this is the cornerstone for the franchise, by all means, go ahead, because I think it's great. I love the fact that you have this open world, how it's pretty much, they take sort of the approach of different zones and they apply it to different islands. So, you have, and the fact that you have this open world for you to explore. There's all this stuff that you can cut, these little side missions you can take part in to kind of open up the world and continue the story. Overall, I am just impressed with how well it's been made. Now, granted, there are some problems here. I've had some issues, some graphical glitches here and there. Sonic falling through enemies, like, for example, the giant 3-armed, whatever the fuck you call that thing. Sonic fell through him a couple of times. I also had some issues, graphical issues, with the fishing minigames, because, yes, Big the Cat is actually in this. You'll see it much later. Keep in mind that that the footage you're seeing now was recorded a couple of weeks ago from the point that I'm recording this episode. So understand that all this stuff is recorded in advance. And so there is one part where I do come across Big the Cat, because, yes, he is in this. And I noticed a lot of graphical glitches with the water, but outside of that, it's been pretty solid so far. And like I said, it's nothing that can't be fixed with patches. Overall, if this is the future of Sonic, by all means, go full steam ahead with it, because I'm totally on board. So anyway, with that being said, let's move on to our next story. Alright, and next up, we got to talk about Gran Turismo. So recently, GT Planet went to Monaco for the Gran Turismo World Finals and Gran Turismo's 25th anniversary event. And while they were there, they got a chance to chat with the series creator Kazunori Yamauchi. And during their chat, they brought up the idea of moving the series to PC, because after all, Sony's been doing that with basically most of their first-party games on the PS5 and PS4. And of course, Gran Turismo hasn't really made the jump yet. So, what did he say? Well, he said, yes, I do think so. However, he said, Gran Turismo is a very finely tuned title. There are not many platforms which could run the game in 4K 60p natively, so one way we can make that possible is to narrow down the platform. It's not a very easy subject, but of course we are looking into it and considering it. Now, the thing is, like, when it comes to PC, you have PCs that could do 4K 60p, no problem, okay? Hell, my PC can do that. Granted, it can't right now because I'm using a 1080p monitor, but if I did get a 4K monitor, it could run it without any problems. That being said, though, I think the bigger problem, of course, is the fan base themselves, because as we all know, Sony, whenever they've announced that one of their major titles is coming to PC, there's always some major butthurt from the fanboys about it. We've seen it countless times, and this is something that's been going on for years and years. Like, I can remember back in 2008 when Square Enix announced that Final Fantasy XIII was going to be a multi-platform title and released on the PS3 and the 360, and the butthurt was enormous. They flipped out like you had no idea. Like you would have thought that basically Sony personally tracked them down and like fucking threatened their families or some shit like that. You know, that's how they reacted to it. It was like, dude, calm down. You're still going to be able to get the game on PS3, but God forbid it comes out for any other platform. And we've seen that happen countless times where like other games like Uncharted 4 or Spider-Man or God of War, they come out for PC and the fanboys have flip their shit. So, but I can understand why Sony would want to do that, because let's be honest here, getting a PS5 ain't easy. It's not an easy thing to do. Hell, there's a reason why Gran Turismo 7 came out for PlayStation 4, and the fact that it can actually run on PS4 is a testament that yeah, it could run on PC without any issue. But there's a reason why it's on PS4, and it's because barely anyone can get a PS5 right now. So it's best to open up your platform, open up for other platforms, and PC is kind of perfect for that, because you don't have to give your game to your rival. You know what I mean? You don't have to. It doesn't have to be playable only on like Xbox or Nintendo or some shit like that. You can play it on a PC, no problem. You're not really competing against the other two. Well, maybe you are because it's running on Windows, but you know what you get what I'm saying, you know. But so, yeah, you know what? I wouldn't mind if Gran Turismo 7 was on PC. I don't think most people would mind. The only people who would mind are the fanboys. And with that being said, let's move on to our next story. Okay, and for our final story, we got to talk about the Mario movie, because the second trailer was just released. And I mean just released only a few minutes ago after I'm recording this. Yeah, sometimes I record these segments like literally the day before the episode goes up. Don't worry, editing takes like 2 to 3 hours, so I'm not going to be up till like 4 in the morning trying to get it out. But anyway, moving on, we got the second trailer to the Mario movie, and once again, you know what? I like the fact that these are done as directs, and they introduce you to some of the cast members, and you got Miyamoto hosting it. To me, that sort of gives it a feeling of like they actually are putting effort and thought into the movie. But what was interesting is we got our first looks at Donkey Kong and Princess Peach. Now, some people are not exactly happy with the designs of them. I'm perfectly fine. Like, here's the thing, okay? After the first trailer, I got the idea that, okay, the designs are going to look similar, but they're not going to be one-to-one of what we've seen in the games. And that's exactly what we got here. Donkey Kong looks pretty damn close to his video game counterpart, though there are some slight differences here and there. Just in the way he looks, I don't know how to describe it, but he doesn't look exactly like his video game counterpart. We also got our first look at Peach, and pretty much the exact same thing. She looks very similar to her video game counterpart, but there's some things that are slightly off. Overall, though, you get the idea of who these characters are supposed to be. They're not so far of a departure. It's not like the first trailer of the Sonic movie departure. You know what I mean? Like, they look exactly as they should, as we expect them. So that to me is fine. It doesn't have to be one-to-one. They don't have to be using the exact same models from the video games in order to really do it justice. Now, as for their voice work, we didn't really hear much from Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. I don't think he even said a single line in the entire trailer. But we did actually get to hear Anya-Taylor Joy's Princess Peach, and again, it's all right. It's much more different from the voice of Peach we're used to, but that's fine. To me, I'm not like looking for one-to-one recreations here. You know what I mean? I think they've paid enough attention to the Mario franchise to really do it justice. So I'm not really too much like, oh, it has to be exactly exactly one-to-one, which is funny for me because I'm very anal retentive about adaptations. We also heard a little bit more of Charlie Day's Luigi because there's a scene where Luigi's kind of captured by Bowser and he's basically trying to interrogate him with information. And I think he did a fantastic job with the character. Once again, this is a trailer, so it's not entirely the full movie, but so far from what I'm hearing, Charlie Day has nailed it. As for Chris Pratt's Mario, we do get to hear a little bit more of him, and it's all right. It's not perfect, but there are some scenes where he nailed the Wahoo. He does it at the end of the trailer, and it's like, okay, dude, you nailed it. Of course, there was also a lot of imagery from the games in here. For example, we saw Mario in the Tanuki suit. Yep, it's going to be in the movie. As well as Princess Peach using a fire flower. I also thought it was pretty neat that they have the Donkey Kong arena is done up like the game of Donkey Kong. So you have these like metal girders all over the place. And at one point, like, because there's obviously the movie's going to open up with Mario and Luigi as plumbers in Brooklyn. And they get teleported to the Mushroom Kingdom. And there's one part where they're kind of being teleported and you see Luigi with a bag. And I'm not kidding you. For a moment, I thought that was the Poltergust 3000. It wasn't. Obviously, it's a bag of tools, but just for a split second, I was like, "Oh shit, he's got the Poltergust." No, it isn't. They also ended the trailer with a Mario Kart reference. Yeah, it was pretty weird. They basically have Mario, Princess Peach, Toad, and the entire Kong family basically riding carts down Rainbow Road. Now, I thought that was a bit weird because I'm like, I get it, Mario Kart's really big, but it's like this is. I would save that for like a Mario Kart movie, not like a Mario movie. But anyway, so overall, I'm really looking forward to the movie. It looks fantastic, and definitely one of the movies I'm looking forward to next year. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
PlayStation.
Alright folks, and that's it for this week. I want to thank you all for listening. Remember, if you like any of the music in this week's episode, links are in the description. There is also a playlist called Single Player Radio. It's music from past episodes, so go check that out. Anyway, I'll see you next week, and remember to keep gaming.